Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that we're going to talk about tonight is potentially the worst gun bill that's ever been introduced, but more importantly, that's been covered. Does this have a snowball's chance in hell? I'm going to show you everything, and everything that we walk through right now is going to be linked in the description box below, but I want to answer these questions that a lot of viewers had for me. A lot of them were very concerned about this bill, and we're going to break it down right now. As I mentioned, everything is linked. Of course, make sure you leave a comment, send this one out, and make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. All right, my brothers and sisters. We have got to dive into this thing that Elizabeth Warren and Hank Johnson did. Now, this has been covered a lot. I'm not focused on the fact that this is this new breaking bill, and I'm not trying to bring you something no one else has said. What I'm talking about right now is something that seemed to take off on YouTube channels, on discussion boards and comments, something that really, really needs attention, but we have to understand the nuance and break this down. So what I'm talking about is, like I said, Elizabeth Warren and Hank Johnson, Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act. This is the big gun bill that they just put forward, and like I said, a lot of people have been requesting I cover this, and I want to put it in perspective for you guys. And now I'm going to do some basic disclaimers. One, what I'm about to cover has nothing to do with any YouTuber, has no commentary on their video, nothing about that. This is just my opinion and my perspective of what we're about to cover and the realities of what's actually being put forward. That's one. The second thing, all of these bills and potential infringements deserve our attention, and we need to pay attention to them, we need to be aware of them, and we need to be ready when it's time to defend our rights. That's incredibly important. However, you have to understand what we're looking at, what are the odds, and all the backstory, which is an equal, if not greater, part of the puzzle. Check this out. Just so you guys know, I'm sure you guys have heard, this is the guy who partnered with Elizabeth Warren right here. This is a United States congressional rep who said this.
My fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
God bless that military officer. We don't anticipate that. Yeah, I wouldn't either. But anyway, here's just the high level so you guys know what we're talking about. Again, this is the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act put forward by Elizabeth Warren and Hank Johnson. Here's some stuff that it does. Creates a federal gun licensing system, strengthens background checks, ensures responsible gun use and storage, safe storage laws, weapons of war off the street, that's AR bans, improve oversight, that's more FFL crackdown, accountable for wrongdoing by the gun industry, that's the PLCAA, and then payoffs for all their buddies. Now, here's the thing, and I'm not focusing on what it does. I want to focus on the backstory here. This is not a new bill at all. This was introduced in 2016. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. That's wrong. 2020. Here, check this out. This is the article of when they re-announced it. Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative Hank Johnson reintroduced bill with emphasis on gun violence prevention. You can see that it's dated December 6, 2023 in the bottom right. Now, remember the name of this bill. This is from the 116th Congress. This is the exact same bill, 116th Congress. We are currently in the 118th conference, okay? This, as you can see right down there in the bottom, this act may be cited as the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act of 2020, okay? Again, reintroduced. So why is this happening? We're going to get to that. And here's the original unveiling, January 30th, 2020, when they had control of the House and the Senate and the presidency. Senator Warren and Representative Johnson unveiled comprehensive legislation to help end epidemic of gun violence in America. I think it's interesting how the talking points change, but that's it right there, the timestamp. This is not new. This is not something that has come up all of a sudden is going to pass through the dark of night, because it's an old thing that they are reintroducing. We're going to cover why this weekend. We've been working on a video just on that. But I've got to keep on showing you what we're talking about here. And these are some of the questions that I had around this. First, trying to pass it through the Senate, even next year, they still have the filibuster in place. Nothing changes. And I'm going to go through these one by one of all the questions I received. The filibuster itself has not changed, just like it didn't change in this past Senate hearing right now that we just passed last week, or in the judiciary, or before when Biden has been president the whole time. They've never had the filibuster-proof majority, ever. That's one thing. The next thing that someone mentioned, what about getting it through the budgetary process by sneaking it in a budget bill? The Senate parliamentarian will not allow that to happen. It is against the rules. If you want to look for a recent example of that, that happened with immigration. I can't remember the exact year. I think it was 2021. It may have been 2020, early in the Biden administration. They flat out said you cannot include immigration pieces into budgetary bills. It happened multiple times. They got smoked every time. That's the parliamentarian. Now, the next thing, going through reconciliation. You guys are on it. I love how detailed you guys are. Going through reconciliation, you can't do that because something called the Byrd Rule. Again, we're only in the Senate. We're not even to the House yet. The Byrd Rule restricts what can be included in reconciliation legislation in the Senate. At its core, the rule prohibits provisions that are viewed as extraneous to the budget. That means not involved in the budget. The Byrd Rule therefore prevents a reconciliation bill from containing non-budgetary provisions that supporters might otherwise wish to have an easier path to passage. So that cannot happen. So in the Senate itself, this is not going anywhere. Now, go down to the House. The House is still run by a majority of Republicans. The House Speaker, who is Mike Johnson, he still has to put the bill forward, even if they have 2, 3, 5, 100, or 1 advantage on the vote. If it never gets to the floor because Mike Johnson never puts it there, even if it got over all the Senate obstacles, it's still not getting voted on. And that's a very important piece to understand. And like I said in the very beginning of this video, it is crucially important for us to be aware of threats, analyze threats, and put attention where it is due at the right time. Call our representatives, pay attention, be up on it. However, with this bill that we're talking about, this is not even something new. This is a myriad of bills that they've put forward in the past 2-3 weeks, which again, we're going to do a video on. And this one's a reintroduction from something from 2 years ago, from the 116th Congress on 3 years ago, in 2020. So I'm totally with you guys. Second Amendment all the way, attack or defend the Second Amendment all the way, defeat gun controllers all day long. But the bill that they just reintroduced is meant to curry favor, not to be successful. Not to mention the other side of this is that this has zero chance of passing constitutional muster across the board because it's their wet dream. They can't even get background checks passed. You think they're going to get their wet dream passed in one bill through the dark of night? And I just showed you why that was not going to happen in the short term. Everything changes with House changes, with elections, with Senate changes, all of it. But that's why I'm here for you. I'm trying to give you guys the intel, trying to give you guys the understanding of what's going on and what would have to happen should this become a threat that was actually more permanent in the near future versus the long future. We're still vigilant. We're still fighting it, but that's what I've got for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.